Just a quick reminder that if you want to support Concepts and Legends, please remember to like and subscribe. And you can also show your support by using our TCG affiliate link for any and all of your magic needs by using the link you see here or below in the description. Any and all help is greatly appreciated and helps us bring you more videos like the one that is starting right now. Hello, residents of the multiverse. Today is an exciting day here at Concepts and Legends because we have an interview with our very first Wizards of the Coast staff member, art director and artist Ovidio Cartagena. If you want some insight into some behind the scenes, then sit back, relax, and enjoy this peek behind the curtain of what makes magic so magical.
Thank you for taking the time to join me today, and I am very happy because you are my first official Wizards of the Coast sanctioned interview, so this is a big day for me.
Thank you.
So the first question is, how did you get started with Wizards of the Coast? Your career trajectory has been great.
I got started, a friend of mine recommended that I apply. There was an opening, and she said, well, you know what, you might like Wizards. I played Magic with her husband. I got her husband into Magic. We played like on the weekends and stuff. So she thought, oh, you know what, you might like it. A friend of mine said that there's an opening and maybe you should apply. And so I applied. I interviewed. Actually, I was at another job that I had just started like 2 months before, but I dropped it because of Wizards. You know, it was a good opportunity. It was better income for sure. You know, it was a larger company, so I was happy to go in.
So you applied for the position of art director? Is that how it?
Nope. I applied for the position of production artist. So I was in production, and then I did some stuff on the inside. I started like being known, right? It's not the first time I'm an art director. I've been an art director before, just not in the States.
Okay, yeah, you're from Guatemala?
Yeah.
Right.
I'm from Guatemala. So I already had some experience, but it's, you know what, you have to prove yourself first, right? And there were a couple of opportunities where I did that. And little by little, I started inching into the role. 6 months or 7 months or something. I was doing already like commissions for China, the China market and arena, and my first big one was the Godzilla.
Yes.
Arts, not the lands; those were by Tom. Tom was the art director for that, but the
Ikoria, right?
Yeah, the Ikoria Godzilla cards. Yeah, it was a big deal.
And so what are the steps that someone takes to go from starting out doing production design to art direction?
Everyone has their own path. Like right now, someone just came in from graphic design into art direction, and that's kind of like in reality, it's kind of the obvious progression from being a graphic designer or an artist, right? So before I'm pretty sure you're interested in how it happens at Wizards.
Oh yeah, I mean, especially for you, and especially, yes.
For me, especially, is I asked for the opportunities to art direct. They knew my work already because I was a fine artist before.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
I was doing fine art, and I did a series of classical pieces. I had done shows in New York, in Vegas, and here, and in the museum, the Mary Hill Museum in Washington as well. So I have experience as an artist, just not as a fantasy artist, right? And as an art director, just not as a fantasy art director.
that's still fascinating that you're able that I mean your work is incredible, but I'm always fascinated by all the artists that I talk to. Like many of them have no interest in doing art direction. Majority of them don't. They see it as something that is very stressful and that it requires a lot of dedication, which I'm sure it does. But what draws someone like you who is a fine artist but also to go on that trajectory you went for?
Well, first of all, my formation as a professional was in the corporate context, right?
Okay.
Because by trade, I'm a graphic designer,
Mm-hmm.
and in that manner, I got my start early on directing photo shoots, right? And then I moved on to commercials and radio ads and complete ad campaigns. So a lot of knowledge of communications and how to study the market and stuff like that. Have a lot of marketing knowledge, and it seemed like a good combination, with
Yes.
with magic. We pay a lot of attention to what fans like. A lot of attention, like there's a lot of data, right? That's very useful.
Mm-hmm.
And the fine art context that I have that I had right before joining was very useful as well. So one reason many artists may not like it is because they want to spend their time painting. Like if
Yes,
you
that's what
do
I've
art
heard.
direction, a lot of the painting that you like, my painting's time has been reduced, right? I have to get quicker. So it's just how it is.
Um, how many people do you interact with on a daily basis when you're doing direction for the Godzillas or for along those lines? Like what's a daily sort of paint by numbers way of how your day goes?
You mean artists?
Well, yeah, with your interactions with the artists, what kind of things that go back and forth between the two of you?
Um, oh man, it could be as much as 100 people a day.
Wow, that's incredible.
But we can talk about, say, a concept push. If you
Yeah,
want, if you want, what we can do is talk about what an art director does, because it fluctuates a lot depending on what it fluctuates a lot depending on what stage of the creative process you're at.
mm-hmm.
Right? If you're building a set but you're not yet commissioning art, you interact with about 10 or 8 concept artists, right? For however long you're building your set, like Ikoria, or if you're building, all the sets I'm doing haven't come out yet, so I can't really
Yeah,
tell you a lot.
the NDAs, yes.
Yeah, I can't tell you a lot about what I've done because it's like 2 years out, right?
Right.
There's a lot of lead time because of production schedules.
But I guess that is an important thing to maybe just clarify is like what does an art director do for in the general sense? Because I think there's a lot of mystery to it as us to Magic players. We see your names listed on packages, but we wonder, okay, well, what is that job?
Oh, we can start from the beginning. The most you do is commission art, right? But I think the most essential part is the creative process for new worlds or new sets that are coming out, right? Kaldheim is a good example I can use that's recent,
Mm-hmm.
and that I saw from inception. Kaldheim, at some point it was decided, oh well, we're gonna do a set where it's based on Norse mythology, and there was a field trip to the Nordic Museum here in what's the name of this? Oh, in Seattle.
Wow.
Nordic Museum, yeah, in Seattle. And the concept artists went there. right? Like everyone like, oh, let's take a look at everything and let's immerse ourselves and everything. It was a social experience. And right the next day, the experience is, oh, well, we're gonna draw all the inspiration we drew. I was not a concept artist in that set, but Zach was. And I remember that's how I met Zach Stella.
Yes.
And that's probably one of the first steps when you're an art director. You start developing the vision of what this set is going to look like. I'm working on that right now for a set that's coming out 2022.
Wow. Okay. So this is
2023, I think.
so you're continuing to do it, and I'm assuming that it's for a probably a larger push than say the Godzillas.
Godzilla is just, you do commissioning, and say for example for that one, I can tell you that I did a lot of research, a lot of research, and in the commissioning process, I had to guide the artists very closely, right? Normally, what we always do, I'll tell you what we do, is we trust, after that creative process, we start commissioning the art. We build a guide for every artist to, oh, well, this is the style in which all the creatures in Strixhaven look, and that this is how they dress, and this is what they're like, and this is how the world works. And you send every artist the concept art, right? So that they can study it and they can present it really well. I was sent the world guide when I did this, like the Archaeomancer's map.
Okay.
Right. So I had to study what Lorehold meant and what their environments are like and what they would like, kind of understanding them so I can come up with stuff. Right. So then I just send the art directors, or the artist sends us. And in the case of the Archaeomancer's map, where I was an artist, I sent. The artist sends us a bunch of sketches, options. We choose and do like composition guidance, or we check for regular stuff, like value structure, palette, anatomy. Normally, most of these things, you don't have to worry too much about it because the artists are professionals, man.
Right.
People are great. We have some awesome talent, so they'll get it. And we watch out for those aspects. I mean, the foundational aspects of how to build an image and how the world building is being followed.
That's
right.
Well, I'm sorry.
No, that's it.
Yes. So I wonder, is there any particular pieces that you are proud of that you oversaw that the synthesis just came together, that you just like, you saw that and you're like, this is a great example of what like an artist and myself as an art director could do in tandem?
You're talking about released stuff, right?
Yes.
So let's take a look. Yeah, you're asking a big question, mate, because I love a lot of stuff that's coming out, that's come out already.
Gotcha.
I like the commanders for Strixhaven, actually. I commissioned them, the face commanders.
Oh, you commissioned them?
Yeah, I commissioned them.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so I commissioned all of them. I was very happy. I'll tell you what my favorite was. I loved Brina, the agitator. But my favorite was Jesper's. What was the name?
Willow Dusk. Is it that one's fantastic. It's such a fun piece.
He told us the full story too. Like Jesper said, he and it's true. He sent us some sketches. I approved the sketch, and then he was like, "Actually, you know what? I don't like this," because he's dedicated to the craft. Jesper always wants to do the best image he can. the best he can provide you, he will scrap a whole process just to give you the best image. And this is what he did this time, right? He scrapped the previous work he had, and he sent me a completely new option that just blew my mind, right? What he had before was fine, but
That,
he went the extra step, right? And he
that's
created a new sketch.
that's incredible. So you had already approved the one that he decided he didn't want to do, and then
Yeah.
he sent you one that was even better.
Yeah.
That's so cool. And it makes me wonder, I hope eventually there's going to be some sort of way to see these things that, like something like that would be great to see, that something that was approved and then the artist said, oh, let's take it another way, because it's as an audience member, we see these things, and they're great works of art to us, which they are, and it's cool to know that there's B-sides out there that we won't ever
Yeah.
get to see, that are, but
Well,
maybe we will.
that in this case, I think you can get to see it. Jesper has, I think maybe he did an article, or did he do an interview? I'm not sure what he did, but I think in this case you can see it.
I'll check it out. I interviewed him a few months ago, but this was before Strixhaven was released.
Oh, I see. Yeah, and that was a great. I love working with Jesper, mate. He was in one of my concept pushes. That guy's a master, and
Yeah.
we have a lot. We just work with. It's just really exciting to work with the best talent in the business.
It's, again, and I'll say this again, I say it in every interview, but it's wonderful the amount of community you have together, the support you have for one another. It's you really feel like a family of people, and it's nice to see.
The relationship with the artist is very important to us. We protect it very much, right? It's important to me that an artist feels inspired and that they feel that they can propose ideas. Certainly, they don't have to follow. Like, if they have a better idea, I'm always happy to see what they had in mind.
Like, for instance, what Jesper did.
I'm always, it's lovely. It's great to be surprised like that, right? Not everyone, like, sometimes people don't have the time, or sometimes what if it's a rush commission, right? Like, you are gonna go for an obvious idea. You're not gonna spend, I don't know, 15 hours trying to come up with something new. But each commission has its own uniqueness. Each artist brings their own style to it, and that's what's exciting.
Yeah, and that's what makes Magic so great, is because there are such iconic artists, and there are so many iconic, styles that you see it and you're just like, yep, I recognize that one, I recognize this one. And it's really, I think you guys are sort of like the patrons of if you look back at the way people who supported, like, say, the Michelangelos, the patrons back in those days, that's a lot of what Wizards is doing, because there's not a lot of platforms for artists to really get to show off their creative genius in such a broad way.
So you touched on something very important. A lot of people don't refer to Michelangelo as an illustrator, but if you think about it, he had a script, he had a client, and it had to be approved by not by an art director, but by a council. Right. There was an artistic council who was mediating, like, just figuring out what the best way to depict this biblical character and compromise with whatever vision Michelangelo had, right? It had, and it also had like a long lead time.
I mean, can you even imagine, like, the people who were overseeing the Sistine Chapel? I'd imagine they were watching him pretty closely and telling him what could and couldn't happen.
Yeah, and there was still there was still a controversy, right, when it was unveiled,
mm-hmm.
and they had to cover up the figures because there was no modesty,
right?
So and he didn't like it. So it's just still that stuff, that process happens every day for us, right?
I mean,
and
it has to.
Yeah, and we're just bringing the best we can to audiences. We're doing the best we can.
And what now with your creation for Bird of Paradise?
Mm-hmm.
that that I would like to know about, because you have a bit of a background with painting birds, correct?
Mhm.
And so how did that happen? I mean, I'm always curious as to when people are splashed into the secret layers, which are really like a fantastic showcase for individuals that are either already in the established or just starting out. But how did you land that gig, so to speak?
So you once again, I was kind of uh, uniquely qualified because of my classical background. Um, I like birding. That's like a hobby, right? I like birding. Right in my backyard, I've seen like 30 to 35 species of birds.
Really?
Yes,
Wow.
because I live close to like a lot of parkland. Um, so it's something I like, and the classical background helps, like being a classically trained artist, and I can just do a lot of detail and like colors and all the techniques that the classic artists used. And also being knowledgeable about magic, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And understanding the importance of a card like Birds of Paradise. It's been done by some great people, right? And it has a history, and it has a mechanical relevance, which is also important. Something
Hmm.
that we have to pay attention to a lot was how is this going to resonate? In the case of Secret Lair, there's a little bit more leeway, right? And Tom sent me the commission for Birds of Paradise. Uh, he wanted people, basically people who just love painting natural stuff and birds and things like that. Um, and I came up with a few options. There's about, I don't know, 4 or 5 options. I think, no, I did 6 sketches and I sent him 3. They were all in ink, and he picked the one that you see in the card.
Hmm.
It was my first time using gouache. I had never used gouache, but I wanted it to be kind of precise, and that's why I picked that medium.
And what is that medium specifically? Because I mean I barely could pronounce it, let alone am I
Oh,
aware of?
gouache.
Yes.
So gouache is it's a blend between watercolor and kind of tempera.
Okay.
So you have to, I'm not gonna bore you with the technical specifics, but you have to layer color, and it dries pretty fast. It's pretty solid, and it allows for very precise lines.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay. That makes sense.
yeah.
That's how you
So
achieved it.
several illustrators use it. Alex Ross, the
Hmm.
Marvel illustrator, uses it, and he's a master at it. Of course, not like me. I'm just a guy who tried hard to paint a bird. Um,
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. I mean,
so
nope.
I wanted like a lot of like feathers, like hairy feathers, and like a lot of tiny brush work. So that's how I achieved it with the gouache. Um, it was really exciting to. That's probably the one I've anticipated the most. And when I did it, I wanted to make it. I had several goals to fulfill. The first one was the brief they gave me, right? Like the second one was the style that this secret lair was going to have, which was the Audubon style, kind of bird, minimal background, lots of detail, and the detail kind of explains the creature, right? Because that was Audubon's specialty. He would pose and depict the birds in a way that you knew how the bird worked,
Right.
like how many feathers it has and what tiers there is and what colors they are and things like that. But the other one was there was a personal consideration. The national bird of my country is the Quetzal, right? So I based it on the Quetzal and kind of fantasized it a bit and mixed it with some other species that I like. And actually, it was kind of very big in Guatemala. Like people were like, "Oh my God, there's a Guatemalan at Wizards." Like everyone's kind of like shocked, right?
Yeah.
And I did interviews in Spanish. It was featured and people were excited, especially because I did the national bird, right? Like so everyone's like, "Oh my God, this guy's doing a shout out to the
Yeah.
country and whatever," and they are absolutely doing great. I wanted to do the like the national symbol,
Yeah,
right?
I saw and doing my research that you were you made a pretty big splash over there. I mean, and it's cool because there is there is not you know, up until more recent years, there's not always been an avenue for artists to be represented in big positions like that. So that is exciting.
Yeah, it it's a source of great pride. You know, the Quetzal was very important for a lot of Mesoamerican peoples. So bringing it to Magic was just really exciting for me because it has meaning to us, you know.
Hmm. Hmm. It's I can identify the same way that bald eagles. I mean, at least every American, when they see a bald eagle, they get sort of like awestruck because it is
Yeah,
that's the symbol that we you know we pay attention to. And
yeah,
you know, it's kind of hard not to have that sort of like, you know, pride when you see something associated with where you're from.
yeah. And as I said, the Quetzal has its own kind of background and stuff. I didn't want to just straight up paint the Quetzal because I'm not out to do like some just publicity, but I wanted to base it on the Quetzal.
I mean, what is the story behind it? I mean, it's maybe a little off track, but I'm assuming it's okay to discuss that. I'm curious as to how what is the meaning for it over and where you're from.
It depends on the group, but the Quetzal has these. The Quetzal, the male Quetzal, has a red chest, and there's a huge story about how this native leader was killed by a Spaniard conquistador, and he was stabbed. The native leader, Tecunuman, he was stabbed in the heart, and the Quetzal, which was very important to the Quiche people, the Quetzal went and posed on his heart to weep
Oh,
for his death, right? And that's why the Quetzal's chest is red.
oh, okay, I see. So there's a mythological rooting too
Yeah,
with
yeah,
so that's heavy. That's heavy stuff.
yeah. It's beautiful stuff too. And the tail can be like a foot long tail. Uh, in a certain season of the year, when you see it flying, it's just like seeing it flutters like a flag or like a snake flying
Yeah,
above.
it almost looks otherworldly.
Yeah. It's the type of it's the stuff of legend, man. Like the stuff that writers were like, "Oh, we saw these fantastical," you know, like it's the stuff of fantasy,
Yeah,
especially to someone who has never seen such an animal,
it
right?
was
And
for me. It was
yeah,
for me
and
for sure.
the mythology around the bird as well. So all that stuff, um, it's just very inspiring. Like the richness of the story as a kid growing up, you know, as a Guatemalan, you're inspired by it, and of course, it figures in the art of many Guatemalan artists.
But that's still that's a great tradition that that people can get behind. It's nice that there's uh unifying myth forces, and that's really the great thing about art and mythology and anything creative is that it's there's a unification there.
Oh yeah, that's the purpose of a story.
Hmm. Hmm. I absolutely. Who would be who would be some people that influenced you when you worked with art directors? What were some of the influences that you had either from other artists or art directors that you worked with that led to where you are today?
Um, I can tell you, I am I haven't worked with many fantasy art directors, right? I've only
Mhm.
worked with Cynthia, Tom, and Zach.
Which are some pretty big hitters there.
Yeah, some pretty big hitters. Cynthia and I, we share like a kindred fascination of classical art, and we've had chats about it. We've talked about how much we like the Ludwig Deutsch versus Jean-Long Gérôme camps, the Orientalist artists
Mm-hmm.
in the 19th century. I really, really love Gérôme, and we've I liked her work even before I got into Wizards, of course. I loved her art. I love Zach's art too. Zach was very helpful actually. When I was doing a piece, he was like, you know what? Maybe like he was recommending like brushes and stuff, right? And one earlier piece that he was very, very influential on was um, the bearded axe for Kaldheim.
Mm-hmm.
He gave me a lot of feedback, and I said, "Hey, dude, don't pull any punches. Just lay it down. Like, just just tell me what I need to do. I'm just happy to because it was my first main set commission. I just wanted to fulfill it as best I could. Um, and I had a lot of fun painting the metal and the knot work and so on. And then he asked me again to do the Archaeomancer's map.
Which with that one, I'm curious as to what the evolution was behind it. Like, what did the description say, and then how did it come to be what it is? Because it's a really cool painting. I mean, it's definitely one that I look at and I'm just like, okay, there's more going on here, and I will actually get distracted by the art and forget to play the game in these cases.
That's nice because I recently spoke with some people and they were like super crazy. Like they said the card is wildly popular,
It's
right?
blowing up, yeah, big time.
Yeah, it was lucky. It was a stroke of luck that the card was popular. I did not know that I did not know it was going to be popular when I painted it. Maybe I would have paid more attention.
Wait. Are you not? Do you not think that it's that? I mean, I think it's awesome. Are you like dissatisfied with the final result,
Well, it's
or
just a joke.
okay? I was like,
So what happened was they sent me a description. They said, paint a map. The description was paint a map and ruins, a ruined landscape. And in a way, we can see how the ruins used to look, right? And it was hard because the focus of the scene is the map. That's the artifact that you need. How do you make a map? Like what the first thing you imagine when someone says map is just a flat
right.
paper that unfolds and shows you the landscape. So first I started juggling how that works. I started thinking, oh my God, like how am I gonna paint a map? Jesus. So I just I couldn't quite grasp a good composition that would do what the brief is asking, like show the ruins in their idealized form and also focus on the map itself, right? Because otherwise you could do like a split screen, right, where you see the map and on the other side the ruin, and there's lots of options. So I started just doing some research into maps. I love history. Like I'm a big history and archaeology fan, huge.
Really? Okay. Yeah.
I read a lot of history. I read a lot of history, and I've been on archaeological digs in my country.
Wow.
It's just in my country, dude. You drive to work and you see pyramids, Mayan pyramids from I don't know 1,000 years ago, right? On your way to work.
That's insane. That's insane.
So I'm a big fan of that. I started researching what types of maps different civilizations have made. So I came up with 2 sketches. One was fantastical, and I didn't think it was gonna go through, and it was a piece of glass that worked kind of like that. I don't know if you remember that movie He-Man, where they have like some binoculars or whatever that they see what happened
Yeah, from the
before.
80s.
Yeah, from the
Yeah,
80s, like
yes,
the
yes,
one
yeah,
with Frank Langella and Dolph Lundgren.
yes, yes,
So,
yes.
uh, so I thought, oh well, you know what? If there was a glass version, like a augmented reality, but like magic, that would be awesome. And I did that was one option. The other option was the Sumerian style of map. The Sumerians had tablets, right? And they scratched. There's only like one map like that,
Right.
and so it it had kind of like the map itself was a piece that fit into the landscape, and that's Zach ended up picking the glass. Right now, it's like, oh crap, I don't know how I'm gonna pull that off. But so I came up with some ideas, and I did it in the way that's depicted, right? Like the Archaeomancer is raising their hands and letting the map do its work, right? The map positions itself, and if you see the Archaeomancer, in my mind, the key to using the map is the bracelet.
Oh, okay.
Because if you see the arch of monoliths that the bracelet has, it mirrors the arch of monoliths in the landscape itself.
That is so cool. That's the stuff that I love talking to you guys about, like this kind of like Easter eggs.
Yeah. Some people catch it, some people don't. But in my mind, that's how the Archaeomancers work, right? You have this bracelet, and it was, I can tell you, it's a bit of retroactive storytelling, because what I needed was a certain compositional balance that could draw like a nice arch on the piece. This is only talking about composition, right? Like you have arch, and the arch theme, so that there's a flow and the curve around the top, like everything is pointing to those eyes, like the big figure, the big monolithic face.
Right.
So there's it's kind of like the oranges in the Godfather, right? Like you make a choice, you make a compositional choice that's just, oh well, this looks nice, and then you end up, oh well, why can't this tell a story? I need something shiny on this end, so why not make it a bracelet that mirrors the monolith arch?
That's cool. Sometimes the story reveals itself to you after you've written it. It's you go back and maybe read something that you've written or that you've done, that you're like, oh, I didn't realize that could be that there was a connection there, and it's almost like it happens outside of yourself.
Yep.
And it's just really cool. And I won't keep you for much longer, but what I will say is, I, without violating any NDAs, are there projects that you're working on now? I know you said you're working on some magic projects, but is there anything that you're talking about that you're personally doing that you want to talk about? I know that I really liked your, I believe it's pronounced Arcada series of stuff that you did. I think I pronounced it correctly, but I
The
believe
Arcana, the Visual Arcana.
Arcana. Sorry, Arcana. Is there anything that you're working on now that you would like to tell us about?
Personally,
Personally or professionally, whichever.
so actually, I just came back from a lot of studying like Native American stuff. I think I'm gonna do something with that. I don't know what it is yet. I've got a couple pieces coming on the October releases. I'm working on some exciting stuff for 2023. I've got a concept push later in the year. Personal work, art direction hasn't left me much time for it,
Right.
but I want to get back on it. I'm always inspired by like surrealists. That's what I did my thesis on. Yeah.
Have you ever heard of Remedios Varos? I'm pronouncing her.
Remedios Varo?
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. You're the first person that has ever known who she is that I've talked to.
I
mean,
did a complete analysis of her work.
oh, she's so
awesome.
good. So good. Oh my God. She needs to be talked about more. I mean, I learned about her when I saw that Madonna had used her imagery in one of her videos in the 90s of the lovers, where they're both the two people with the mirrors on their for heads, like sitting together. Like that was used in a Madonna video, which I had to give her props for that. I was like, that's cool. But oh my God, I'm so pleased to know that somebody else actually can talk about her, because she's one of the best. That's so very underrated.
Yeah, super underrated. Great. It's just incredible work. I'm a big fan of hers.
Like, so, oh God, I could give you a digital hug for this, because like I'm just like, nobody ever knows her, and I'm just like, she's so good. They're like, okay.
No, people have to go check it out. It's beautiful, and it's metaphysical, and it's spiritual, and it's abstract. It's just so many things at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
She just needs a lot more airtime. And Madonna, by the way, is a great creative director, mate. Like, she just doesn't stop.
Yeah, she knows. She got her finger on the pulse. I mean, you can't not be relevant for like 40 years without having an idea of what's hip and what's not.
Great artist. One of my favorites. Yeah.
And so that will be, I guess that wraps it up for today. But I thank you for taking time for talking to me.
Oh, hey, Aaron. It was nice talking to you, mate. And I'm glad you know Remedios Varo.
That was such an exciting interview. I really could have asked 1,000 more questions, but YouTube and human patience are finite. That's why being a vampire is better. We don't do finite. We do infinity. We do infinity. That's a great slogan for a startup company, isn't it? I should create a startup, make that our official slogan. How long can that take? Let me ask my phone. New Phyrexia. How long does it take to become a CEO? Really? Well, I better get cracking then. Hope you all enjoyed the interview, and until next time, this soon-to-be CEO's got a scoop.